Hello and welcome to this Supplier's deal comparison template. Before we will dive in, let me introduce myself. My name is Tara Maria and I am the head of product, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. Our team has over 20 years of experience in procurement and negotiations, and we train procurement teams from small and large companies from all over the world. Together, we have been working on providing you with a template about deal comparison, and I will be guiding you all throughout. In this sheet, we are going to discuss which points you should include in your analysis as you dive deeper into the power balance between you and the suppliers of your upcoming negotiation. The first one is obvious. It is knowledge. The more you know about the negotiation issues, objectives, priorities, and the parties involved, the greater your power. Thorough preparation is essential. The second is quality of the skill of your negotiation counterpart. Some companies have people that specialize in negotiation, but others don't. The combinations of skill, attitude, and experience will most definitely lead to both the perception and the reality of power. The third variable to take into account is competition. Are you negotiating in a market that is driven by supply or by demand? And how much competition is there in the market? The availability or lack of competition may give one negotiation side the upper hand. Salespeople enjoy more power when available sources or alternatives are limited, but procurement managers enjoy more power when multiple sources or alternatives are available. In my opinion, procurement managers should always strive towards as many alternatives as possible, as this is the key driver for gaining an advantage over your supplier in upcoming negotiations. Even when you think that there's no alternative, there are always tricks to gain more power. Performing the required effort in-house, changing requirements to encourage competition, developing new sources by providing startup funds to other suppliers, or postponing the contract start date until other sources become available. The fourth variable to take into account is, are there any time constraints? These will affect every negotiation. Time constraints become a variable of power within your negotiation when the constraints appear to affect your supplier more than you. Examples of time constraints are time available for negotiation, time available for contract completion, the date when production must start, or the expiration of funding. But take care and do not be a fool yourself. A time constraint that appears to affect only one party may actually affect both. The fifth and last variable is the importance of the deal to each party. You can analyze the interdependency between you and your supplier easily. You do this by checking how much of your total cost of goods sold are from the supplier that you are negotiating with, and the other way around, the dependency from the supplier as a percentage of sales to you as a buyer. The team of procurement tactics made a template to help you out in this. But in short, you can fill it like this. Make sure you know your shares in your total sales of suppliers and the suppliers' share in the total sales of your company. And you know directly how dependency will affect this negotiation. Now we are going to compare suppliers when buying new products or services. First, we have to understand the factors. There are a lot of factors when comparing suppliers when buying new products or services. The first factor is price and cost competitiveness. It is not enough to look at the raw numbers. Analyze the breakdown of the pricing. Are there hidden fees? What are the payment terms? Is there a potential for discount based on volume or long-term contracts? The main point of this factor is to ensure the supplier's pricing is competitive without compromising on quality and to monitor price changes and adapt accordingly. The second is capabilities. This is about capability evaluation. You should understand the full range of the supplier's offerings. What you focus in here is to ensure that the supplier can meet both your current and future requirements in terms of volume and time frame, and to evaluate if the supplier can scale with your demand. Can they cater to your needs? Is there potential for them to evolve with your growing requirements? Do they have a plan designed to take account for spikes in demand? Third is financial stability. Examine financial statements or credit ratings. If available, look for signs of consistent profitability, liquidity, and solvency. Check if they've recently faced bankruptcy or other financial hardships. The fourth factor would be location. You should consider the logistical implications of the supplier's location. Also, evaluate shipping costs, lead times, and proximity if you require shift responses. A closer location may mean quicker delivery, but might come with higher costs. So weigh the advantages of local versus international suppliers, considering customs, duties, and potential import challenges. Fifth, ethical and social responsibility. Many companies publish CSR, corporate social responsibility reports. Review these to gauge their commitment to ethical and socially responsible operations. How do they treat their workforce? Do they have green initiatives? It's best to align with suppliers that adhere to ethical practices. You have to assess their impact on the environment, sustainability, commitments, and general ethical stance. Lastly, the sixth factor is technological capability. Consider their research and development commitment. Gauge the supplier's commitment to innovation and assess their ability to provide cutting-edge solutions and stay updated with industry trends. Suppliers with a strong commitment to research and development can offer innovative solutions. Check if they have patents, regularly release new products, or invest in tech infrastructure. Now, here are further criteria for evaluation. When you want to compare the proposals for new products and services, it's important to keep a good overview. That is why we created the following template for you to work with and find out which supplier is best for you. By filling in this template, you can rate your potential suppliers by the following aspects. Firstly, we have price. You can monitor prices by periodically reviewing industry benchmarks to see if the prices being offered are competitive. By keeping an eye on the market fluctuations, you will be able to determine whether the price you've been offered by your supplier is fair or not. The second is quality. You can utilize feedback and reviews. Apart from examining samples, look for feedback from other clients. Are there reoccurring complaints about certain products? The third would be service. Consider the SLAs, service level agreements. These should be detailed, highlighted responses time, problem resolution strategies, and communication channels. You can also evaluate the service levels of the supplier, considering responsiveness and understanding. Fourth, convenience. Determine how easy and swift the ordering and delivery processes are. You can take a look at their ordering process. Is their process digitalized? Can you integrate their ordering system into your procurement software? These are good questions to ask. Fifth, sustainable focus and social responsibility. Ensure alignment in values and consider the supplier's societal contributions. One way is to consider the real world impact beyond reading reports, examining if their claims have had tangible impacts. For instance, if they pledge environmental commitment, have they reported reduced carbon footprints? Lastly, risk. You can determine the level of risk by scenario planning. Create potential scenarios, from supply shortages to sudden price hikes, and evaluate how the supplier might fare in each. If there are any other points which you would like to include, please feel free to add these in this template. You can never do too much comparison in order to get the best deal. I like to give you some more tips when comparing suppliers. Always update your BATNA. Markets change and new suppliers emerge. Continuously evaluating alternatives ensures you're never caught off guard. To effectively compare suppliers, it's crucial to first determine your BATNA. This term refers to your most desirable course of action if negotiations with a prospective supplier fall through. Without a BATNA, you're essentially navigating the complex world of vendor deals blindfolded. Say your primary supplier raises their prices or runs out of stock. Having a BATNA ensures you to have other options. For instance, if one of the vendors runs out of Acer laptops, your BATNA could be switched to another supplier with ample stock. Now we're going to compare existing deals with your current suppliers' vendors. Comparing deals with current suppliers or vendors is key to getting the perfect deal from your suppliers or sponsors, because with it you can gauge how much you're going to get from each proposal and map out your options. The key to efficient comparing deals is to learn and implement your BATNA. Once you know your BATNA, then you can start comparing proposals and even existing deals. How can you do this? Well, let's get into it. As with all forms of power, perception is always important to take into account. If a negotiator perceives that a contract is more important to the other party, the negotiator may be less willing to make consensus. Everyone wants the perfect deal, and yet many don't put in the extra effort in getting the perfect deal. Comparing suppliers for your existing deals is exactly what it means. You read through each current deal, you look at the fine details of the contract, sales, profit margins, discounts, and others. Learning how to compare suppliers does take time and experience, but we will help you out. Comparing deals is key to getting the perfect deal from your supplier, because with it you can determine how much you are going to get from each proposal and map out your options. You might be asking for a personal experience on why it's so important to compare suppliers. Well, using the comparison of suppliers techniques can be for two important purposes. First, you can look back to determine if your company was growing with the right suppliers. In an ideal world, you would always grow as fast as possible with large suppliers that are contributing high margins, but the truth is that in most businesses, it's the other way around. And other very important questions to answer are: has the margin of the suppliers you are negotiating with increased or decreased over the last year? How do the supplier's total sales and gross margin compares to its peers? How is the supplier's replenishment relative to its peers? Are the supplier's prices out of line with competitors? Has a change in raw material costs impacted expected costs of goods sold? What is the current contract? The last question: what are the current payment terms? Secondly, you can also look forward with which suppliers that already have a good margin should your company grow in the upcoming years. If we are locked into our current suppliers, how can we grow margin with these suppliers? This template is designed to compare multiple suppliers based on various performances and financial metrics. But let's break down this table. On the top right, we have the suppliers. This represents the individual suppliers you're comparing. Supplier share in your revenue. Assess which supplier significantly contributes to your company's sale. This indicates the percentage of your company's total sale that is attributable to each supplier. For instance, supplier 1 accounts for 37% of your total sales, meaning that 37% of what you sell comes from supplier 1. The higher the percentage, the more reliant your company might be on that supplier. Total revenue full year. The total revenue is all the sales you made with the supplier in 1 year's time. Fill this in for all the different suppliers. Growth in percentage versus last year. This metric reflects the growth rate of sales for each supplier compared to a previous year. A positive number indicates an increase, while a negative number means a decline in sales. Suppliers with consistent growth might be more reliable or in line with the market trends. Total spent full year. Usually, contract spending is used to describe the value of transactions with a vendor. Growth in percentage versus last year. To calculate this, all you need to do is subtract your current year earnings by the last year's earnings, then divide by last year's earnings, then you multiply the resulting figure by 100, which provides you with a percentage figure. Volume full year. An important statistics for the buyers is the volume of products or services that you are buying from different vendors. This gives you an overview of the volume achieved full year with particular vendors and which vendors influence your business's area the most. Growth in percentage versus last year. Did the volume grow in comparison to last year? If so, write this down here. The calculation you know by now. Margin in dollar full year. This is the actual dollar value of the profit from each supplier. It's derived from the percentage margin multiplied by the total sales in dollars. Growth in dollars versus last year. This shows the year-over-year growth rate for the profit margin of each supplier, like the sales growth. A positive number indicates growing profitability, while a negative suggests declining profitability. Payment terms in days. This is basically after how many days do you pay your invoices from your suppliers. Payment discount. Sometimes you can get a special discount when you pay on time. Write down the different discounts you are getting from the different suppliers. Growth bonus. This could be an incentive provided by a supplier based on growth. For instance, if you increase your purchases or sales of a supplier's products beyond a certain percentage, they might offer a bonus. These incentives can further sweeten a deal with a supplier. Consider these when weighting the benefits of increasing businesses with a particular supplier. Purchase volume rebate. This metric may indicate any rebates or discounts offered by the supplier based on the volume of purchases. So, for example, a supplier might offer a rebate if you purchase products in bulk. Suppliers offering significant rebates for bulk purchases might be more attractive, especially if you have the capability and the capacity to purchase in large quantities. Sustainability focus. There are several ways to measure the focus of sustainability in a company. I will give you some examples. Look at the research of the supplier's waste streams, energy and water usage, and efficiency. It is also important to look at the carbon footprint and see if you can find out if the supplier is only pretending to be focused on sustainable produce or whether they are really prioritizing this important factor. Account management. What is the way of communicating of the account manager? How is the responsiveness? Are you offered new and profitable deals? Marketing support. This might refer to an amount each supplier invests in media for promotions, advertisement, or other marketing efforts related to the products they supply. Knowing a supplier's media spend can give insight into their market presence, brand strength, and commitment to promoting their products. Quality complaints customers last year. First, you can ask yourself the question, am I happy with the quality of the product that the supplier has offered me this year? To ensure that the quality overall is good, look for the database of last year and see whether the feedback and reviews were positive or that there were a lot of complaints from customers. These templates showed you that effective supplier comparison requires a deep dive into contracts, profit margins, discounts, and other key metrics. Additionally, we taught you to always be prepared with a BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement, to ensure you have backup options in dynamic market conditions. Furthermore, when it comes to facilitating the deal and supplier comparison, you have learned to utilize the detailed template that breaks down supplier performances and financial metrics. By analyzing metrics such as total sales, year-over-year growth, profit margins, marketing support, and various incentives, you can gain a holistic understanding of each supplier's performance. Regularly updating and referring to these templates allow for the continuous assessment of supplier relationships, ensuring they remain aligned with your company's evolving objectives. That's a wrap for this template. I really hope you learned a lot about how to conduct deal comparisons when negotiating with new and existing suppliers. If you rather work on Excel, let's go to the template there. We will add it on our website. And of course, if you want to learn even more on new supplier comparison, make sure you watch this video